Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name is Pete and this is a 5-minute Bags of Action review of Bad Boys for Life from 2020. The original Bad Boys came out back in 1995, Bad Boys 2 in 2003, and now we have a third instalment some 17 years later, which prompted me to make a trip to the cinema to catch it on the big screen. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are back in the main roles, as are Joe Pantoliano and Theresa Randle as Captain Howard and Mike's wife Theresa respectively. With newcomers joining the cast in the shape of Vanessa Hudgens, Alexandra Ludwig, Charles Melton, Paola Nuñez, Kate Del Castillo, Nicky Jam and Jacob Scapillo. Michael Bay gives up the director's chair this time to Belgian duo Adil and Bilal, who made Black, which is what got them noticed by the producers, Gangster, and they've since completed the movie version of comic series Scalped. It was written by Chris Bremner for his first screenwriting credit, Peter Craig, who wrote The Town, Bloodfather, 2 Hunger Games films and the upcoming Top Gun Maverick, and Joe Carnahan, who wrote Narc, The A-Team, The Grey, and the upcoming remake of The Raid. And I did wonder if perhaps at one point Carnahan might have been slated to direct this. So, what is Bad Boys for Life all about? The Bad Boys, Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett, are back together for one last ride in the highly anticipated Bad Boys for Life. IMDb doesn't give much away, and I like the fact that very little was revealed about this movie before it came out other than that. For me, that's the best way to bring back something that people are already invested in. You know the formula of the Bad Boys movies, you know the 2 characters and actors really well, and that's probably all you need to know going in, and I'm actually really pleased that I went into this film with very little knowledge, because it really helped, because there are some big surprises along the way. So, the first 5 minutes or so, I wasn't really sure. There's a car chase and some witty dialogue between Mike and Marcus, and that had me wondering if this was just going to be a retread of what went before. But there's no pleasing me. The film then took a sharp left turn, and I was suddenly having the opposite reaction. Is this too different from what I expected from a Bad Boys film? Due to the large number of new characters, the juxtaposition between the Bad Boys' old school approach and how things are done now with surveillance tech and drones, etc. But I needn't have worried. The things that helped bridge that gap and find a really good balance and something new was the chemistry between the 2 main actors, as you'd expect, the comedy, and Captain Howard, because Joe Pantoliano has a brilliant, brilliant role in this movie. So by half an hour into the film, I was absolutely hooked. As I said, there were surprises. There were 3 moments in this film I didn't see coming at all, and I was on the edge of my seat for most of the movie. I think overall this is by far the strongest plotted film of the 3 Bad Boys movies. So what about the action? The fights, the shootouts, the car chases are all over the top and brilliantly handled, as you'd expect. But they've also got a modern feel to them. They're bang up to date and timeless at the same time. There are a couple of elements of the film I didn't like quite as much, but I won't spoil those, as they're tiny in the grand scheme of things. So what did I want from this film? What was I hoping to get from seeing a third Bad Boys movie almost 20 years later? I wanted something reassuringly familiar but fresh, something that made me laugh, something that had high intensity action sequences, and something that had plenty of heart. I got all those things from this movie and more, and I was blown away by how well it worked, despite the big gap between this and the previous films, and the risk of putting new talent into the director's chair. In some ways, this is a homage to those Michael Bay movies, but as well as the slow-mo spin-around shots and the kind of yellow sheen to how they present Miami, there is some extremely clever and technically brilliant new ways to shoot action sequences I hadn't seen before. And I think bringing in 2 non-Hollywood directors straight out of Belgium really helped with that. This didn't just take me back to the first 2 movies. It made me think of some of my favourites like Last Boy Scout, Bulletproof and the Lethal Weapon films. And in some ways, that elevates this franchise into the higher levels of buddy cop movies. The fact that so much of the film focused on the aging process and the fact that Mike and Marcus are so much older worked to this film's favour. It's almost like having 2 versions of Murtaugh on screen. As an escapist action movie fun goes, this was absolutely top draw. I haven't laughed and smiled so much in the cinema like this for some time, and despite a few minor flaws, I embraced the truly spectacular, hilarious, I laughed until I snorted, and heartfelt movie. It's easy to forget in a world dominated by Marvel films that there are other movies like this that can do this kind of thing so well. There is already talk of a fourth film, and I'm pleased about that. However, I'm really hoping these same directors return, but the rumour has it that Michael Bay might actually direct that one, which I think will be a bit disappointing because it's the balance of what went before and the new things that made this film such a joy to watch. So, as you may have gathered, I really like this one. So I'm going to give Bad Boys for Life a very solid 4 bags of action. I even came close to giving it 5, but those few flaws held me back. And I know I'm not allowed to give half bags. So, have you seen Bad Boys for Life? Do you agree with my assessment of it? Feel free to comment below or get in touch with us via email, Facebook or Twitter. We have, of course, new week episodes coming out regularly alongside our full-length podcast with me and my co-host. So don't forget to keep watching, keep listening, and give us a like and subscribe to our channel.